Well, hi, everybody. Really great with Business Excellence Forum almost on the way, and hopefully you're excited. Elizabeth McCormick is here with me. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello, Brad. I'm so excited to be here and to be coming in February.
Yeah, it's great. Now, you're a superstar corporate person, many years in the corporate world, but the thing that everyone like raves about you is the Black Hawk pilot stuff, because this is like super, well, I want to say it's super cool, but it's super dangerous as well.
It can be. It can be. So there's a reason that flight school was over a year to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that you kind of muscle memory and get everything on the good side of the training.
Yeah, yeah. Now, look, if we look at it, like, well, your books, your speaking gigs, you've been doing this for a long time, but there's so many things. And when you come to Business Excellence Forum in San Diego, you're going to be teaching a lot about your fly, first lead yourself. Today, I want us to touch on leadership to begin with, because leadership, what's your philosophy, born or learned? Where do you sit on that debate?
Ooh, that's a really, really big debate, isn't it? That
It
people are like,
is.
ooh, are the born? I think people are born with charisma,
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
but but leadership is learned. Now, charisma helps leadership, but you still have to figure out how to work with people and get that buy-in so they do what you want to do and get the results you want to get as a leader, right?
Yeah, well, hang on. You'd learned this stuff under fire, literally under fire. I mean, yeah, the skills. I mean, if you've got the skills down, then you can do it a lot better. If you don't have the skills down, it can't happen. And business people, do they have to learn leadership? I mean, I want to hear your theory on that.
It depends. Do they want to lead? I mean, do they want to, if you want to be successful, if you want to build and grow something where people are working for you or with you or around you, leadership kind of helps. It's not negotiable.
I would kind of agree. See, business is the business of humans. I mean, if you didn't want to deal with humans, go and like invest in real estate or something. You still got to deal with some humans, but a lot less.
Yeah, go be the punch the clock and garbage truck.
Yeah. Look, one of the interesting things about leadership is that we have to continuously learn and upgrade our skills on this. It's not something that you learn once and then you're like, okay, got it. It's not like riding a bike. You got to keep getting better at it, especially if you got a growing business. And that's one of the things that you look at quite in depth is, leadership's got to grow and prioritize and stuff. Give me some more insight into that and why that's important.
Well, not only are leaders learners, but here's the really tricky part is that business in general, the only thing that's constant is the change that we have to adapt to, right? Whether
Very
it's
much.
technology or our computers. I mean, how often are we replacing our computers, right? And what we're dealing with. So everything is subject to change and is likely to change. So why would we be static in that process?
Yeah. And even like leading Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, it's changing every day. Leadership is changing. The skills still remain the same, but the philosophies and all of these things. And I'm glad you're going to touch on that sort of stuff. Now, I want to go back to the helicopter thing because I'm one of those crazy people that loves flying stuff. The pilot method. This is your book, by the way, which I think everyone should read. The pilot method. You sit down and you take us through. There you go, the 5 points, and that's the. Now, is that actually one you flew in the background, or is that?
Yep.
That was your one? Fantastic. Fantastic.
On the back is pictures of me young. So this one was in flight school when I flew the Hueys. And there was an orange door because you need to be safe. Watch out for them. Had the orange door on the helicopter. And then this is the Black Hawk that I flew for all my mission readiness years and
Fantastic.
training.
Fantastic. When you sit down and you look at it, leadership, I mean, taking the philosophies, and I'll get you to take everyone through pilot, what it stands for, but the leadership philosophies that you have to, I mean, the military philosophies are so strong, and applying them to business, and you did it in your corporate career. I love how you join the two together, I guess is probably one of the big things. And that's why I'm so excited to come and sit and be with everyone learning from you. But if you can take everyone through the pilot method so they understand a bit more about your philosophies on this, because I think it's really important for them to get.
Yeah, so the whole concept of pilot method they're the 5 elemental truths to leading yourself. Because the fact of the matter is, when we don't lead ourselves well, what are we teaching people to follow?
Mm.
You know, so it really starts, and that's what a lot of my keynote's going to be about is leading from a place of strength in who you are and how you show up. And so the pilot method ties into that. That's the deeper dive another time. So it's P for potential, I for implementation. It doesn't do any good to believe in your potential if you don't do something with it and
Very
take
nice.
action. Yep, implementation. L is leadership, and I break leadership into a very simple structure you'll see in February.
Oh, the tease is coming. The tease is coming.
And then the O is about optimal performance.
Mm-hmm.
And so with optimal performance, I think a lot of us are running on empty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we're either working so hard we don't have anything left for our family, or a family crisis comes up and we don't have anything left for work and our business. And so I think that with optimal performance, you got to find a way to maintain and sustain your performance at a higher level. And that really requires you to take care of you, because
Fantastic.
nobody else is going to do it for you.
Yeah, I imagine, because flying a helicopter, you'll live your peak performance. I mean, if you're not at peak, you've got a lot of people trusting in you, physically trusting in you with their life. So,
they said a really interesting thing when I got to my first assignment and they taught us about optimal performance. They said, when there's a peak, there's a valley. And when there's when there's a high, there's a low. And what we want is higher than that average that you would get. So they really pushed us into this higher, sustainable, maintainable, optimal performance zone.
Wow.
Where we took care of ourselves. So we were required to take 12 hours off. We were 12 hours on, 12 hours off. We had to, some of you are probably like, ooh, that's a long day with 12 hours. But for some of us as business owners and entrepreneurs, we're doing way more than 12 hours.
Yeah, I remember when I first started in business, a 12-hour day was a luxury. I remember that, a part-time job was good. So it's like,
right?
And I know some are sitting there going, okay, we haven't finished the T for pilot. It's like, because I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are detail oriented. I'm not one of those most times, but
40,000 foot view.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Well, in the helicopter, 14 is the highest we go. So T is tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
It is about persevering and not giving up even when it gets hard and things aren't always appearing to go your way.
One of the interesting things, and one of the reasons I love that you're coming to teach for us, is because strong women today in business are something that, we're growing a lot of them as a company at Action Coach, and we love the fact that we're always searching for more strong women to join our team. And I think from a leadership perspective, you bring a perspective to it that's unique, because, I learned a lot of leadership when I was young from a lot of guys, and you never heard much of the I guess the emotive side of leadership and that sort of thing. It was just that crazy strong side, but there's a balance to that equation, and you seem to have managed to balance that equation really, really well, and I love that about your work.
Well, what I figured out is that powerful women can be pretty too. I mean that in a relational way, not way. But really, I mean, it is possible to be powerful and, show up powerfully without fear or worrying about, things not being always the right way or whatever other people think. I think it really stems from an inner confidence. Yeah.
Well, that inner confidence is not just female. It's a male and female. There's a lack of inner confidence in a lot of business people because, let's be honest, we haven't done it before. And as you said, flight training school, there was a year to get muscle memory on this stuff. Leadership, dang, I've been leading my company for 20-something years. I still mess stuff up every day.
I don't know. It looks like you're doing pretty good, Brad.
Oh, pretty good. I always wonder one thing, Elizabeth, and that is that, when you look at leadership, there is no right and wrong way in the moment. There is whatever you do in the moment, and you find out what's right and wrong later on. But the structure, and this is what I love about your work, the structure you can, if you can get yourself some form of a structure, it helps. And that's what you add. You add a lot of structure to leadership.
Mhm. So, as a pilot, I had to take complex systems and break them into checklists.
Mm,
So now what I do is I apply that into my speaking, into leadership, into the different skill sets that I teach.
mm.
So what's a simple way we can look at leadership? And I would tell you, but then, I'd have to, no, I'm not. I can't tell you. But I can't tell you because you have to come and
But hang on, you're the pilot. You're not the gunner. You're not the gunner. Actually, you do have it on the pilot stick, don't you? Dang, yeah. All right. So I'll leave that one alone. So ultimately, Elizabeth, when it comes to leadership, because I know you also teach sales, you also teach it from a whole bunch of things, and I know you're teaching most of leadership when you come work with us. Corporate-wise, how did you find when you took your because in the corporate world, taking your military, did you have to tone it down at all? Did you have to switch it up a bit, or how was it?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. Because I have to tell you, as a strong female leader, when I went into the corporate workplace at first, so this was I was actually injured out of the military. I'm a disabled veteran. And so this was in 2001 when I was injured and started working in my first corporate job. And I was so strong and powerful, right? But I didn't have all the confidence behind it yet. I still, because I was, I was injured and so I had the physical issues I was dealing with, which thankfully don't bother me as much anymore. But I also had this, how the little girl going, please, where you just like, it wasn't quite there. But yet, on the other hand, I knew what I was talking about and I knew what I was doing. So what happened is at my first corporate job, after a while, my boss came to me and he's like, we really love your work. You're doing a good job, but man, everybody thinks you're a big.
I find it weird that the B word is used with women, but never with guys. I think it becomes the A word with guys. That guy's an A. Yeah, but the thing is, leadership is about getting people to do what you want them to do, but them wanting to do it. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're aiming to achieve. And I really can't wait till we get to meet in San Diego and hang out for the days and learn from you and learn with you. I guess that ultimately your book, people got to read it. And I would hopefully they would read it, buy it now, The Pilot Method, and read it now before you come to the event so that, you've got some real framework on it. And I want to touch on one last thing that you've got coming up, which is you're doing this TV show where you're interviewing veterans. Well, am I allowed to even say that yet?
So it's just coming out. We're probably going to be filming it in December and January. So when I come in February, I don't know, if you see me after my presentation, you might ask me about it.
Yeah, because interviewing veterans about how they're successful in business, and I love that stuff because I know at Action Coach we have a lot of vets who are coaches within our organization. We coach a lot of vets and stuff. So listen, I can't wait to meet you in San Diego and hang out and learn a whole bunch. And really, thank you so much for your time today.
It is an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to see you all in February.
Fantastic.